Play this clip here from Wayne Rooney. And second, listen to what he said about the situation and state of the club.
Go and put Roy Keane right in the heart of that dressing room. Go and put Paul Scholes right in the heart of that dressing room.
Wayne Rooney?
I'd go straight in there and go and put these people in that dressing room and show people the what this club is, what it means. I never grew up a Man United fan. I grew up an Everton fan, but I spent that much time at the football club. My family, over like me 2 children now at the football club. I've been involved in that club for over 20 years, and what we're seeing, it hurts. My eldest boy has seen Man United win a Premier League title. My second boy is nearly 13. My kids don't know what Man United is being successful. I want them to see that.
What do you make of these ideas of putting Scholesy and Keane into in the heart of the dressing room to help fix the club? Do you think that's the remedy?
I love it. I love it, and I think as you know, I've never met Wayne Rooney. I don't know, at what level he comes in at in relation to football and Man United fan. But there's certainly going to be a lot of us that look at that and go, yeah, chuck Roy Keane in there. It's great. The problem with that is we literally chucked Ronaldo in there as a player who said, do this. And then he sat there and went, I'm telling these players what to do. And they're getting in their car and they're going home. So we had Cristiano Ronaldo as a player. Roy Keane would walk in there and give them a team talk and he wouldn't be on the pitch. As we all know, having played the game, coached the game, whatever, you can tell everybody everything on a Thursday and Friday. But what you get on a Saturday is what they decide to do on a Saturday. Ronaldo was in there Thursday, Friday with them, telling them what to do. And then he was on the pitch with them on the Saturday and they still weren't doing it. So I don't think it's as simplistic as that. But I think what somebody said on our show last night on the United Stand 8 o'clock show was brilliant. Play the blame apportion game because everybody can play it. You have manager, you have players, you have owners. There is 100% of blame. How do you allocate it out percentage-wise? So I said 60% ownership because it's been 10 years of this. I said 25% players because they can't win 2 games in a row and they're massively inconsistent. And I said 15% manager because he has to take some responsibility for results and bad selections. But if we remove the manager, I still think you've got a huge amount of blame that's there. So I think Wayne Rooney's saying, let's chuck Roy Keane in and tell him off. But do you think they've not been told off by Ten Hag, Ronaldo, Amorim? They just don't have the minerals. And also, we don't play good football. We the owners don't set the owners. You shouldn't need to get Roy Keane in the dressing room. You should have an owner that walks in and says, I pay you bloody wages. You play shit football. You don't get results. You're out. There's no accountability. Roy Keane can't give accountability. He can just walk in and go, your Man United players, nonsense and all this. And we can all do that. But ultimately, the guys that pay their wages, it comes down to how make Roy Keane the owner. Now we're talking. That's the thing.
Well, I love Wayne Rooney as a player. He's a legend for the club. But this is also the man that was in the dressing room for multiple years at the beginning and the medium period of our decline. He spoke and he stood by his words on this, that we'd lose games. He'd come into the training ground the next day and it was a party atmosphere. Everyone was having a good time. It wasn't serious. But he also said that at that point, sort of that new generation of players had taken over the dressing room and they were in charge. So you were there with Michael Carrick and you couldn't stop that then. No disrespect. You boys are legends. I'd like to sit and have a drink and talk about, I'd love to talk about the story. I'd love to learn about the inside. I'd love to have a chat with them. But you're going to walk into that dressing room now. If he believes the players are an issue, because I think that's what he's saying here, players are an issue. He's going to walk into the dressing room, tell these players off, and they're going to go, who are you, old man? Because they were essentially saying that when he was playing with them. So I think we can all get suckered into these ideas because they sound good. My dad used to say that when I was younger. One of the only things I now look back on, England would be playing badly, and he was like, oh, go stick some of the 66 squad in that dressing room, let them put a rocket up their bums, it'll make them play better. And as a kid, you go, yeah, it will. But then you realize there was loads of ex-England players on the coaching staff and players that had won things. We then brought in international managers that were considered world-class, like Fabio Capello, and none of it helped. mean, ironically, the best we've actually been in my lifetime is with a manager we all didn't think was very good in Southgate. Ironically, when the expectations got lowered, England got better. And there's an element of that to be discussed in all of
Well,
this.
Gary Neville was Roy Hodgson's assistant coach.
Yeah.
In 2014 World Cup. You know, you've got a guy who's won the lot, who's been a captain, who can probably walk in there and go, you need to do this. But that's not how. Also, the modern player is just, you know, somebody just said there, Roy Keane would have been on a fifth of what Bruno Fernandes earns now. And if Ronaldo is saying to Rashford and Garnacho, you need to do this, and Greenwood, you need to do that, and they're not doing it. I mean, you've got one of the greatest players that's ever played the game, who's literally been in the position of being a teenager at Man United. And he's saying to teenagers, this is what you need to do. And they're getting in the car and going home. That tells you the modern footballer. So I love what Wayne Rooney's saying. And I saw it and it resonates. But when you scratch the surface of it, you go, it's not that simplistic. Make Roy Keane the owner of the club, then you get change. Put Roy Keane in the dressing room as a cheerleader or even a manager. I don't think it changes, because even managers don't demand respect of Man United players. They go, why are we training in the dark? You know, the manager doesn't have the power at Man United. The owners have fucked this club. We all know it.
No, I totally agree, which is why there's comments like this that says, stop fence sitting right now. Are you keeping him or not?
Fair question. Yeah. Answer it, Terry.
No, I'm moving on. Yeah, you do it, Terry. I would move him on. The problem is that people want this to be a very binary solution, and they want you to say the manager out so they can go, yes, I was right. I told you he weren't good enough. And I agree, he hasn't been good enough. And if you go back and look,
I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah, if you go back and look at even the games where I'm chastising the players more than the manager, still holding him to account for things that he's got wrong. But at the end of the day, what I am not going to be gaslit, bullied, or forced into doing is pretending that I believe we're going to be absolutely fine when a new and competent or better coach comes in. I still think we're going to hit a brick wall. Like someone said to me the other day, I think you're being harsh on your squad saying it's average, Terry. I said, well, where do you think it will finish in the league with a manager making it perform at its optimum best? They said 8th. I went, well, that for me is almost a definition of average. But this is why conversations are important. Because when you actually start sorry, go on, mate, go on.
I said this yesterday. You know, when Ten Hag finished 8th and won the FA Cup, it sounds quite good now, doesn't it? 8th in FA Cup.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep Ten Hag, but not because he finished 8th. 8th is shit for Man United. It's absolutely abysmal. Let's not. People, it's better than 15th. Yeah, it's a higher number, but it's still absolutely shit. But I agree with you. Like, that's a great question, because he's saying you've got to go one or the other. I don't believe in absolutes, by the way. I don't believe in yes or no or sack him or not. But in this case, let's play the question. If you're asking me, I've got to move him on or keep him. The logical thing is to move him on. But there is a third choice of I'm actually not sitting on the fence. I'm just saying I don't think either solution is going to actually help this football club, because when we sacked Ten Hag and I was against that, but Amrim got the job, I was massively excited by the project. There is no manager, I don't think, that is going to make me go, oh, I'm really excited. And that's really sad, because when you do something a lot, it loses its excitement. And I think sacking another manager, especially within 12 months, is the biggest failure of ever. I mean, it's as bad as Moyes. Moyes was a huge failure because he got sacked in 8 months. Yeah. So we're back there, aren't we? Which was over 10 years ago.
I agree. I agree completely. And I think that, listen, I hope I'm fundamentally wrong on every level. And I hope my semi-apology around Ineos is retracted. I hope that, let's just pick Oliver Grasner. I hope he comes in, and I hope there's an instant improvement. And I hope that new bounce and improvement becomes consistency. I hope we become a top 6 team this season, a top 4 team the year after, win the league the year after that. And we all look back and go, actually, we were squad building very well. We were fixing the culture. We did have a much better squad than we all anticipated. And it was just Ruben in that whole rebuild process that was holding us back. I pray to every football god. I pray that happens. And I can sit there and go, I had nothing to worry about. I was completely wrong. You guys, this time round, first time in 6, you were right that just sacking the manager was going to make us better and we'd grow from that point. Because I only want Man United to be better. I just don't believe that. So that's my issue with answering. I'll answer the question. He has to go, but I won't leave it there, because I don't think it's as simple as that. And on your blame game, I put 80% of the 70% of the blame on the ownership. And then for me, it's 15-15 between manager and players afterwards. Because even if it is the coach's fault, it's still the ownership that brought him in. It's still their recruitment, essentially, the team they put together to do the recruitment. They've still kept a lot of players at this club that we wanted gone, and they've had 2 summers to move people on. So I will never move away from looking at the ownership far more than any manager or any group of players. Because I do agree, if we went and got the best owners in the world and the debt was cleared, if you swapped our ownership with City, if you swapped our ownership with Arsenal, if you swapped our ownership with Liverpool, if you gave Brighton's ownership to Manchester United so they didn't need to sell the players they found, we'd be a much better team in 4 or 5 years' time. So this year from English Talent says Rooney, Rio, Vidic, Evra, down tools under Moyes. This is a great point. It's a great point. You're absolutely right. Malacia, left wing back, could see United challenging for top 4. Yeah, he's back in the squad, isn't he? Malacia. He's back. In fairness to Malacia, he was one of the only members of the bomb squad that wasn't misbehaving or mouthing off in the press. I don't really have too much of an issue with that personally. Patrick here, hope you're well, Patty. He says, do either of you think the board know what direction they want to go in regards to manager? Feels like this is part of the delay. They don't know what direction to go in.
100%. I said this. It reminds me of Ollie. They had absolute, and I know this, and we know this. It's there. Ollie got pumped by Liverpool at home, and it completely caught the club by surprise. They had nothing in place. And I think that's poor planning anyway. You should always have a backup plan because, you know, God forbid that life can pull the rug for multiple reasons. You know, you look at what happened with Jota in the summer. I mean, that just shook the world of football. So you just never know. And in any business, you've got to have contingency plan. And I think with regards to Solskjaer, Man United didn't have a plan. And that's why we sort of went into an international break and everyone went and hid. All the club went and hid. They were like, there was nothing coming out. And then we had to come back and lose to Watford, and then they made the change. I feel like they're balls deep in Amorim. And I know that's not a great thought, but it feels like they are absolutely all in on this because it's their choice. Like they made such a 180, you know, to go from a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-3 and a guy that is clearly going to need, you know, a lot of investment, and to get him, remember they got him in early. He didn't want to come in November. He wanted to come in the summer. So they are massively culpable. They definitely want to stick with him. But I think this week I think the amazing thing is, Terry, is like the Brentford result was sort of like we were talking last week. He's got to beat Brentford. He's got to beat Sunderland. And then, you know, he buys himself a bit of time, you know, build this season. Next summer, Bruno will be gone. You know, things could get better. That Brentford result has sort of made everything change. And I don't think they've got a plan in place. I think this week they'll be scrapping around for a plan because you can't not have a plan. Because if you lose to Sunderland on Saturday, there's only one way to go. So I think they'll desperately be hoping he can stay, and they'll be desperately scratching around for a solution as well this week. But I don't think pre-Saturday they had a plan at all.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to the journalist speak about it because Fabrizio's kind of said his job's not safe, but there's been no contact with managers. Ben Jacobs, who got a lot of things right early on for United in terms of watch out for this player, that player, is talking about lists being drawn up, which I am glad they're doing. There has to be a contingency as an example. I think what they're more deliberating on, and this is where my faith is being tested. You've gone down this road of 3 at the back and you're building a squad for it. And I know that there is reports that the players are more multifaceted than that. But are they going to go for an Oliver Glasner and keep the shape the same? And then there's this big... Because part of me is almost like, if Glasner comes in and makes it work in that formation, then we know it was Ruben. If he comes in and fouls in that formation, then we know it. Then you kind of know it's more the players, right? Equally, if we change and go to a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, I know Carragher last night said we have the players for it. But we have centre-backs that have typically struggled in a 2. The only one who hasn't really played in the 2 at this club for us has been Lenny Yoro. The fullbacks are always defensively suspect. Now that might be even worse. We have no left wingers. I know Cunha can play there, but we have no left wingers. So it's going to be an interesting one to see. By the way, I want to thank Sadiq, who's gifted out 5 memberships to our audience today. A big, big thank you to you. Before we move on.